Hello, everyone. I'm Randy Arrington, and welcome to the 14th episode of Page Valley Livin'. We're here today inside the Town Hall of Luray to talk about the mayor's race in 2024. We'll be talking with Luray Council member Stephanie Lillard about her decision to run for mayor in the 2024 election after serving on the council since first being appointed in 2021. We'll take a look at what she's learned during the last 3 years on council and what she hopes to accomplish as mayor. We'll do that and more in just a moment, but first, we would like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Luray Caverns. The Smithsonian Institution once said, quote, "It is safe to say that there is probably no other cave in the world more completely and profusely decorated than that of Luray. Come see Mother Nature showing off only at Luray Caverns. Visit them online at luraycaverns.com to plan your trip today." We'll be right back to talk to Stephanie Lillard about her decision to run for mayor of Luray in the 2024 election. But first, let's take a quick look at last week's headlines. And now looking back at the week that was in the Page Valley. If you saw smoke last Friday on the north end of the county, no worries. That was just the U.S. Forest Service conducting a prescribed burn. Smoke impacts were seen on Forest Service Road 684 and Route 340 near the Bentonville and Luray communities. The burn improves wildlife habitat by restoring open woodlands and grasslands to the forest landscape. Racine Motorsports has transferred operations of SwimFest Luray events over to French Creek Racing. Racing made a similar arrangement with Ripid Events last year with the Luray Triathlon. Officials with both Racine Multisports and French Creek Racing will be visiting Luray soon to plan with local officials for the next swim event coming up on June 1st at Lake Arrowhead. A belated happy anniversary to our good friend Donnie Ernest down at Vivian's Flower Shop. He celebrated his 50th anniversary of working at the flower shop in downtown Luray on Valentine's Day last week. You can check out the full story on PageValleyNews.com. On Thursday, Page County senior Ariana Roudabush announced that she was signing her national letter of intent to play collegiate softball at Coker University in South Carolina. Roudabush marks the second Panther to sign with the Division II Cobras. Back in November, senior pitcher Bailey Gaskins announced she was signing on with Coach Brittany Bennett. In addition to her athletic scholarship, Roudabush has also been selected to Coker's Honors Program for the class of 2028. And that transitions us right into the world of sports. As we are recording this, the quarterfinal round basketball games are scheduled for Tuesday night in the Region 2B tournament. The Page County girls team will host number 7 Stewart's Draft, while Luray's boys are on the road at Fort Defiance, and the Luray girls are at Strasburg to take on the top-seeded Rams. Winners advance to the region semifinals on Thursday and Friday. Girls will play Thursday, boys on Friday. And finally, good luck to a host of Luray Bulldogs headed off to the Class 2A Indoor State Track Championships on February 28th and 29th at Liberty University in Lynchburg. The Bulldogs produced 2 region champs at the regional indoor track meet on February 10th at Woodbury Forest, and now take about 10 athletes to states this weekend. Now looking ahead at the weekend ahead here in the Page Valley, Saturday, February 24th features 3 events coming up. From 1 to 3 p.m., Cooters Garage Band performs at Cooters in the Valley out on Route 211 west of Luray. From 7 to 9 that evening on Saturday, there'll be trivia down at Broad Porch Coffee on West Main Street in downtown Luray. But the big event coming up for this weekend, also on West Main, is the first annual celebration of Black History Month at the West Luray Rec Center beginning at 1 p.m. The event is being hosted by the historic Andrew Jackson School Museum Committee, and the 2024 theme is African Americans and the Arts, spanning the many impacts of Black Americans have had on visual arts, music, cultural movements, and more. This is a culmination of events that students, churches, and the Rec Center have been working on all month long. There'll be a play, an announcement of essay contest winners, and much more. And that, again, starts at 1 o'clock. It's going to go from about 1 to 3. The museum there is going to be open from 12 to 4. And finally, on Sunday, February 25th, from 1 to 4 p.m., there'll be a wedding showcase at Stover Hall out on Route 340 Business just south of Luray. And that's a look at headlines this week in the Page Valley. Hello, everyone. Episode 14 of Page Valley Living is being recorded on Monday, February 19th, and will be airing on Wednesday, February the 21st. And welcome back. We're here back in Town Hall in Town Council chambers today to talk with Stephanie Lillard. And thanks so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So now you've decided to run for mayor of Luray. All of your paperwork is in. You've gotten all your signatures. How many did you have to get, and when did you officially file with the county registrar?
So we were required to get 50 signatures, and I believe I came in just over 80. Took about 2 or 3 weeks to get those, to collect those, starting mid-January, and submitted them on Thursday, the 8th of February, and was qualified on the 9th of February.
I think you were the very first one. You're
I
right in
yes,
there
yes,
early.
Sir. Yes.
Now, you were first appointed to the Luray Council in early 2021, and you filled a vacancy left by Jerry Dofflyer, who sits in this very seat as mayor when he ran successfully in 2020 and has finished out his 4-year term, and he has decided not to run for re-election. So what now has motivated you to fill that role?
Yeah, great question. I've been getting it a lot lately. So I decided I've been working in state government for almost 5 years and was really missing local work, and decided to go back and continue my education with my MBA, and with the intent of getting back closer to home for local government. And it was about that time that I learned that the mayor was preparing to exit, and that he was going to be a one-and-done mayor, is what he had shared with me. So I thought there's a perfect opportunity. Yeah.
Very good, very good. So now, as we stated, you served a year as an appointed member. I want you to clear this up for folks who may get a little confused. So when Jerry became mayor, he shifted over a seat and left a vacancy on the council that they then had to appoint. You got that appointment in early 2021, and then had to run in November of 2021, but then had to turn around and run again in November of 2022. So explain all that to us.
Sure, yeah. So I had to make an application for the appointment, was successful, and I think I took my seat in February, early February of 21, and then had a special election in November to retain my seat and finish the term for Mr. Dofflyer, which then put me in a position to have to be on the ballot in November of 22 for general election.
Right.
So January 1 of 23, my 4-year term has been set in motion, and that's currently what I'm filling.
There you go. Okay. Now, so you've had about 3 years on council. What have you learned in that 3 years about local government that maybe you didn't see before on the other side?
Yeah. So I have a greater appreciation for being on the other side. You know, again, having worked in local government, a large part of the decision when I applied for the appointment position was when I left local government, I made the kind of resolve to myself that I would come back and be involved in government, but on the other side where I could perhaps be more influential in decision making. And what I've learned over the last 3 years is, you know, from soup to nuts, there's a lot of work that you know gets done in a day, a week, and you know, our government we're no exception to the workforce challenges that all other, you know, industry businesses are experiencing. And so it's really I've had to practice patience. I'm a very patient person, and also just the willingness to lean in and to kind of pivot, if you will. I think, you know, we all learned a little lesson in pivoting during the pandemic. But you know, to stay focused on the goal, but be willing to kind of, you know, adapt as needed to see it through on the plans. And so
there's so much that goes into it that you don't see all of it until you sit in that seat. It reminds me when we were at the chamber breakfast. You attended the chamber breakfast not long ago with the local leaders, and you know, I guess, you know, the average citizen, they don't really pay attention to every issue that flows across the desk. And to have, you know, some folks were asking, well, is there a plan 5 years out for, I think it was water or wastewater? Of course there is. There's a plan 20 years, 30 years out. And it's just amazing how much goes into it that the average citizen does not realize. So is there anything that you look back on over the last 3 years that you might have done differently?
I wouldn't say I would do it differently as much as, first and foremost, I think it's important to recognize that there's always room for improvement. And I think, and in fact, at that breakfast, one of the questions was, what was our goal for this year?
Right.
And my response to that was to be more intentional with my time spent in my community, with both engagement with our leadership here, our departments, our staff, as well as our constituency, just to make sure that at all times I've got my finger on the pulse and can really represent them well when I'm, tasked with making decisions.
Being seen, being the perception of being involved and having your hands on things. People notice that. People notice when you do and don't attend various events and things, and it's a big part. So what do you think is? Well, let's see. Let's go to this one. Talk a little bit about your background and the expertise, insights that you bring to the table. Sort of your professional background.
Sure. So the last, I guess, nearly 20 years is I kind of got my career started working in finance for a local community bank, and found a love for working with business, and that carried me into working for a nonprofit where it allowed me, which was a community development financial institution, so it allowed me to learn even more about community economic development and the practices that come along with developing and really facilitating sustainable growth in rural communities like Luray, Page County. And so that then brought me to working in government. So the last 10 years, I've been working between local, state, and regional government, which has kind of, I guess, so there's been some assurances that this is where I'm meant to be.
Right.
I do feel like I have a servant's heart, and I couldn't think of a better place to do it than working for my own community. And
you
so
work with the Virginia Tourism. And then currently Shenandoah County?
So I left Virginia Tourism after 5 years. I was doing regional development, and did accept a position in business retention expansion in Shenandoah County. But I have since actually just recently moved on. I've actually returned to the CDFI nonprofit that I worked for over a decade ago as a director of People Inc.
People Inc.
Yes,
That's right.
Yeah. But in 22, I decided that, as I said, I've been working at the state in 5 years, kind of removed from local government, and just really had a burden, to get back and to serve my community in a greater capacity. And so I went back to school, got my master's, and with the intent of pursuing municipal management or county administration. But then through this time is kind of when I had a conversation with Mr. Dofflyer, and again learned that he was not going to be. So again, kind of back to the goal is still very much similar to what it was in 22, but just kind of pivoting a little bit on what that engagement and application looks like. Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest challenge facing the town of Luray?
I don't know that there's one. So, but it just briefly, I'll say it's both an opportunity and a challenge. And I actually shared this with council when I was seeking the appointment, which is improving awareness of the constituency about the role of government, what local government has the authority to do, what we're tasked with doing. I think there's a lot of frustration sometimes with the expectation of what we should be doing, or maybe the perception what we're not doing. And that's an ongoing, because at the end of the day, it's important that we have our constituency, that we have advocates, that there are spark plugs out there. We can't do it alone. We need our community to be plugged in. So that would be one. I think the other is just the increasing demand and need for improving our infrastructure. As we've seen some development post-pandemic, some of the growth and just economic activity, it's been fantastic. But with that, of course, it puts more demand on our current infrastructure, which is already somewhat, it's not ideal, I don't want to say it's weak or broken, but it certainly needs some repair. But thinking long term, and we think about as a consumer with our home, we have to prepare 20 years your roof, and be thinking that's a costly improvement that you're going to have to make, and you can't just tomorrow be, I've got to put a new roof on my home. So you've got to adequately prepare, and that means being a good financial steward. So thinking long term about the needs for that infrastructure improvements that can sustain kind of current use, but also future use as we see increased demands and growth in our community. And then the last thing I'd say, and in no particular order, I think it's important that I say that, but housing. We hear so much about the need for housing for all of our demographics and our constituency. And so trying to learn how we as council can facilitate, again, housing development that's going to serve all of our constituency regardless of the demographic.
You work with a good group that
Yes.
cross our fingers, maybe another project will come along. Maybe it won't take 10 years to develop, but
I know. But they're
like we
working
had
on
out
a
near the
lot.
airport, that was the great addition to the community. Well, what do you see as one of Luray's biggest assets?
Again, I don't have one answer for it, but I would say first and foremost, our people. You know, our people that's our asset, right? It's the ones that love their community and they're willing to sacrifice and to commit and to be a part of making the difference. And you know, we can sit at home and gripe and be frustrated because it's not, you know, whatever it is not meeting our expectation, right?
Yeah.
But we can say, I want to make the difference.
Yeah.
And so, you know, first and foremost, as I said, the community. Secondly, I think our location, just the proximity to some of, you know, the northern markets as it relates to goods and services, you know, both business to business, but also, you know, business to consumer, and then also I think just the natural assets that we have. So being anchored by the Shenandoah National Park and the caverns and the influence that has on us economically as far as that, you know, driving tourism,
Right.
because you know that also is one of the challenges, and having worked at the state in tourism
Yeah.
but here locally, and sometimes the constituency feeling like that tourism is put before anything else, but
Right.
again, an opportunity to kind of, I think, increase awareness about you know, how it is an economic engine, and it really is the first aid. Tourism
Yeah.
is the first aid to
Yes,
economic development.
yes,
So
yes,
yeah.
I agree. That's a good way to put it. Well, one more question before we take a quick little break, and then we'll play a little game here. But if you had to, in about 60 seconds or so, give the State of the Union of Luray, what would it be?
We're thriving. I mean, again, there's always room and opportunity for growth and improvement, right? But I think about, again, when I got my start in local government, that being 10 years ago, and looking at just driving up and down Main Street, looking at the traffic
Yes.
to the left and right. You know, we hear now about parking problems.
Yeah.
Right? That was not 10 years ago. There was no discussion about having parking problems.
Right.
We've got all these new restaurants and retail that's come on Main Street in this last year has been so exciting, and the vibrancy that exists now that once wasn't. And you know, I'll tell you, at the state level, often when they talk about rural main streets, and that's, you know, the living room to our
Yeah.
home, right? And so we, the town of Luray, are widely respected and recognized at a state level and interstate level when they talk about good examples of what downtown Main Street and rural communities can and should look like. So, you know, we've got a lot of good things going on. I'm really excited about the future.
Well, I have never regretted coming here, and I'm not looking to leave anytime soon. I think Luray is peaked, not peaked, but is prime for a lot more good things to come in the next 10 or 15 years. I'm very excited to see what is
Yes.
going to happen in the town of Luray. We're going to take a really quick break now. Will you stick around and play a game called the 5 W's with us?
Well, certainly.
All right,
Yes,
all
absolutely.
right. We'll do that in just a moment, but first we would like to once again thank our sponsor, Luray Caverns. From well-lighted paved walkways, explore cathedral-sized rooms with ceilings 10 stories high and walk among huge chambers filled with towering stone columns. Come visit Geology's Hall of Fame, only at Luray Caverns. Visit them at luraycaverns.com to plan your trip today. All right, and now back to Stephanie Lillard, candidate for mayor of Luray in 2024, and the 5 W's. Now I'm going to ask you 5 questions related to the who, what, when, where, and why. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Who has been the biggest inspiration in your life to motivate you to enter public service and public life?
So I would say certainly, unarguably, my mom. While she's not been involved in public service necessarily, but she is a servant's heart and has always availed herself and put everyone before her, and often working 2 and 3 jobs as a single parent, and just really instilled in me good work ethic and the meaning and value of giving back and being selfless.
I can relate to that. What is the most important role of a mayor?
Well, I believe leadership. They are at the helm, right, and they are to set, I think, the tone and the expectation as to how we can serve with excellence and integrity. You know, to bring organization sometimes when it might be a little chaotic. You know, what we see twice a month in these chambers is, you know, the mayor runs the meeting and keeps everything in good order and working fashion.
Yeah.
But there's a lot in between that happens
Sure.
that's often off camera, And it's, again, it's an exciting opportunity and a privilege. So.
When did you feel most proud to be a member of the Luray Council?
That's tough. I don't know that there's any one particular time. I would say, at the risk of sounding cliche, every time I come in here, I think, it's an exciting and very humbling opportunity to serve, again, to give back. I'm a native. I've lived in Luray all my life, have been a town of Luray citizen for over 30 years, spent my entire life living in the Boomfield. And so it really is a unique opportunity. I say it all the time, to be in a position such as council and, for the community, again, that I've been raised in and grown to love. And so.
Where is your favorite place to take the family in Luray?
Oh, the Hawksville Greenway. Not just for us, but also for our pups. They love it. Yeah, they love.
That is a good choice.
Taking a little swim.
I think a lot of people would choose that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, last question, and we'll let you off the hook here. And again, we appreciate you being with us. Why should the folks, and here's your chance for your last closing plug here. Why should the folks out there vote for Stephanie Lillard for mayor of Luray in 2024?
Tough. Well, I would appreciate the support and the vote, and I think that I've demonstrated, again, we've already reflected a little bit on my time here. I think I've demonstrated, a willingness and an ability to serve respectfully in the position, to act in the interest of the people. And I think, again, just my career in community economic development. Most recently, I went through and completed the year of Virginia Rural Leadership Institute, and that was very insightful, and I think provided a lot of lessons that I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to apply should I be successful in this race. And I'm very passionate. Again, kind of might sound cliche, but I am about the work, about my community, and I'm committed to doing what's necessary to fill the role.
All right. Well, there you have it. Stephanie Lillard now going to officially be on the ballot in 2024 for the mayor's race in Luray. We want to say thank you to Stephanie Lillard. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for all you've done for the town and our community, and all that you will continue to do in whatever role that may be in the future. We also want to say thanks once again to our sponsor, Luray Caverns, and thanks to Eleanor Arrington for all of her work behind the camera today. If you like today's show, make sure you hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, make sure you visit the Page County Animal Shelter and help our furry friends down there find a forever home. Until next week, this is Randy Arrington saying, enjoy that Page Valley living.